Okay, Sarah, I'm going to give you some formal feedback in addition to the feedback that I gave you last week about your extended essay. For a start, if I could talk about your writing style. So things like if you look through the history of, just by looking at those kinds of things, it needs to be it's a scientific paper, yeah, as discussed. Okay. You've said here to what extent have textiles been used to help improve the performance of athletes. Yeah, so that's a good question. But then if we look down here, how they to help in performance of athletes and how effective textiles can really be. So is that an add-on, or is that just something else? So you need to define and stick to what your question is, the main focus. Okay. There are numerous aspects here where you need to cite your work just by looking at photos from the 1900s. Yeah. A faster time than a century ago. Yeah. Some guy turning up in everyday clothing. Yeah. Swimming is the second most popular Olympic sport. Yeah. There's a clear difference in the textiles that are used. Where are the citations for this, and where are images or tables or something that show that? Okay. Swimmers showing a strong performance, they need stamina and strength, but in theory, well, is that the case? What's the theory? Yeah. I didn't talk about amateurs and professionals when I met with you on Friday, but think about amateurs back in the 1900s and professionals and how and why there is a difference in speeds. The time that athletes these days spend perfecting their sport. Think also, I've discussed this with you before about marginal gains. The idea of marginal gains is a really important one and something that you really need to talk about, because every athlete is trying to, I assume, every athlete is trying to use every single avenue they possibly can to get a better time. So yes, this is part of the marginal gains that they'll get, yeah, by decreasing drag or increasing breathability or whatever it is, yeah. So you've identified that drag, yeah, and breathability are two aspects of textiles that can improve the performance of athletes. That's great. So you need to discuss that in a little bit more detail about what those aspects are and what they mean. Elsewhere in your essay, you talked about stretch, compression, buoyancy, and glide. Yeah? What do those things mean? Yeah? And I talked about this again on Friday. What do those things mean? Can you describe them in a better, more scientific way? Okay. You have got aspects of your own interest. That's great. But I feel that it's worth investigating. Again, it's a scientific thing that you're talking about here. Yeah. I don't know what an athletic costume is. I like the last part of this paragraph, but maybe that needs a bit of editing. Okay. So moving on to the second page. How much does an athlete rely on their costume? Again, this would be great to talk about marginal gains and talk about other aspects of performance that are important. Yeah. All this here, there's zero in text citation here. Yeah. You talk about these different aspects, these different times and whatever. Can we put a table in there showing the blip? Yeah. Can we just define what technology doping means as well? Simple things. Athletes is in a capital A. Yeah. This that you're talking about, swimsuits were low in drag. That's a really good sentence. Yeah. Is that something that you need to cite, or is that your own information? But it's good. Yeah. Speedo has admitted. Well, I think that the records would show that they were wearing that racing swimsuit. Yeah. This here is anecdotal. So again, it's not scientifically based. Can you use that to support the primary research that you're going to do when you look at drag and breathability when you conduct your testing? Okay. Not cited. Yeah. Again, you talked here. I see you're talking about stretch. Yeah. Could you do a stretch test? Yeah. Could you do a stretch test for various fabrics? Would that be another test that you could do? Okay. As well as heat. Are you talking about heat, or are you talking about breathability? Can you define what that means? Okay. Again, water test, is that water test or is that drag? Yeah? And clearly you need to conduct those tests and you need to report on them. Okay. A conclusion should summarize the research, summarize the body of the report. Yeah, there shouldn't be anything new to that. Yeah, so there's some stuff here that you talk about that relies on about breathability and all that kind of thing. That's great, but can that get put in the body of your text? That should go in the first or second page when you talked about drag and breathability right at the start. Drag and breathability. When you talked about what drag is and what breathability is here, maybe you could define them more clearly, either in the method in the testing or somewhere, yeah, but certainly not in the conclusion. Okay. You've also talked about glide. That's great, but define what glide is and what is the perfect amount of breathability. Okay. The fact that the LZR racer swimsuits were banned, yeah, my question is, what do they use now? So how have they got around that ban, and what other fabrics that they use now instead? They're clearly not equally as good, but what is it how did they manage to circumvent that ban, or what did they do as a result? Okay. Overall, I've got some more notes that I've written in the assessment document that I'm going to give you later on, and there's some more dot points in there that will go in addition to the dot points that I put on ManagePack. Okay, so hopefully this will help you, and this will help you create a much better extended essay. Okay, excellent. I need to press stop now.